is secure. Everybody is confident of the ability to maintain order and is committed to continuing to do so as we finish up the evacuation operations.
We had buses that arrived at the Dome with no idea as to where they were to take those people once we loaded them onto the bus. Again, that wasn't our call to make. That was being coordinated by FEMA.
10 blocks away, there was more confusion at the city's convention center. For many Americans, these scenes of people, thousands of people begging for help in front of television cameras, were the first tangible indication of just how dreadful conditions were.
You got a whole street of people getting lined up. Where the policemen at? Where the National Guard at to control all this?
No police, no National Guard, no Red Cross, no buses, just desperate people who waited for transportation to anywhere else.
We can't take this. We've been out here for 3 days. I don't want to die like this.
There were people with weapons inside the convention center. 30 times New Orleans police SWAT teams entered the center. 30 times Police Superintendent Compass told me they were driven back by gunfire. There wasn't a single place in New Orleans where you had a greater concentration of civilians who needed help than at the Superdome and at the Convention Center. No other place did you have 30,000 people in one place.
And that's where most of our forces was at the Superdome.
Yeah, but what about the Convention Center?
Well, we didn't have enough people, Ted. You got to understand that communications were broken. We didn't have where to contact our commanders.
No, but they knew what was happening.
Nobody, not you say knew. People here knew. A guy working in the 4th district across the river. How did he know?
No, I'm saying
across the river.
You got 200 cops here. Why didn't they take control of that place?
200, over 30,000 people, Ted. How are we going to do? Have a firefight in there with all those civilians? Tell me how to take it over with 200 people. You tell me.
The first 4 days, you sort of had a disaster layered on a disaster.
I've been a Marine all my life, and I've dealt out misery as well as seen misery. And I can assure you that Wednesday and Thursday, I had never seen such human suffering. It was very difficult to deal with it. It cost us 2 of our police officers' lives by suicide.
There was a serious disconnect between local and federal officials at this point. It was early Thursday evening. New Orleans Mayor Nagin issued a desperate SOS. Currently, he said, the convention center is unsanitary and unsafe, and we're running out of supplies. Mr. Brown, FEMA's Mike Brown appeared on Nightline. Don't you guys watch television? Don't you guys listen to the radio?
We've been so focused on doing rescue and life-saving missions and evacuating people from the Superdome that when we first learned about it, of course, my first gut instinct was get somebody in there, give me truth on the ground, let me know, because if it's true, we've got to help those people. The people in the convention center are being fed. The people on the bridges are
With all due respect, sir, the people in the convention center are not being fed. Our reporters...
The people in the Superdome, I'm sorry, you're absolutely correct.
A frustrated Mayor Nagin had reached his limit. He called a local radio station.
We're hearing them say 14,000 National Guard people are about to be on the ground, and we're looking around like, no, they're not. You see, as he starts finally getting the real version out of what was happening, you feel his heart breaking, and you feel the anger.
Don't tell me 40,000 people are coming here. They're not here. It's too doggone late. Now get off your asses and let's do something, and let's fix the biggest goddamn crisis in the history of this country.
I'm Peter Mayer in Washington. President Bush leaves for the disaster zone an hour from now. But one Louisiana official says the federal recovery effort is a national disgrace.
I'm supposed to be in a shelter. This is not a shelter. This is hell's hole.
Who is in charge here?
No one.
The results are not acceptable.
At 9:02 Friday, a somber President Bush faced reporters on the south lawn of the White House. But when he touched down just before 11, he was joined by FEMA's chief, Mike Brown.
And Brownie, you're doing a heck of a job. The FEMA director's working 24 hours.
But FEMA in general, Mike Brown in particular, and increasingly the president himself were being viewed as not having done a heck of a job at all.
places only one.
There had not been a single place in New Orleans that was appropriately stocked and ready to shelter and care for the thousands of evacuees. That was the city's failure.
It tells us they got 500 buses coming. We've been here 5 days, hauling, eating, drinking.
That's right.
If FEMA was responsible for providing those buses, it failed miserably. But neither the state nor the city of New Orleans had any viable backup plan for evacuation either. When this convoy of buses finally arrived at the Superdome Friday, some parents were so desperate they passed sick infants over the crowd, begging the guardsmen to take them. Some collapsed and had to be carried outside. 10 blocks away, Nightline correspondent Chris Bury was at the convention center.
It is now afternoon. Thousands of people remain trapped inside this convention center, and there is no sign of any bus or anything that might suggest an evacuation is being planned or imminent in any way. And after 5 days without running water, sanitation, medicine, the stench inside this building is almost unbearable.
We hungry, we starving, we need help. In a minute, we're going to be eating each other.
We just need to get out of here. We're going to die here. It's just as simple as that.
Many did die at the convention center, their bodies simply covered with sheets.
I'm going to be on the truck by myself.
Police Superintendent Eddie Compass bridled at the suggestion that he and his men could have done more to bring order.
We're trying to take guns with our hands. We weren't even shooting back because they had civilians in there. We were fighting for our lives. Do you understand?
There was no plan, no order, no cohesion.
We did not ever have the capability of moving these people out. There's only one organization in the United States that could respond on anything of this magnitude. That's the military. And we've got to have them up front rather than in the rear 3 or 4 or 5 days down the line, because they know how to do these things.
But it wasn't until Friday, the same day the president came to New Orleans, that the military turned out in force.
Everybody in a line! Everybody in a line!
Over 1,000 more National Guardsmen poured into the city.
It's about time they showed up.
And for the first time, military convoys loaded with food, water, and supplies rolled up to the convention center.
Stop the Iraq! Stop the Iraq! We got this! We got this! Food is here! Water is here!
Leading the cavalry was Lieutenant General Honoré, a cigar-smoking 3-star veteran dubbed the John Wayne Dude by the mayor.
They'll be out of here by sundown?
No! How do you move 20,000 people by sundown? No, hell no!
It was ours.
Having heard reports of guns inside, SWAT teams and the military arrived with weapons locked and loaded. From the perspective of those stranded inside, the rescuers looked more like men prepared to put down a prison riot.
I'm pleased to report that the convention center is secure. One of the objectives that we had today was to move in and secure that convention center.
It would be one more day before the buses finally came.
You know, I'm going to fly out of here in a minute, but I want you to know that I'm not going to forget what I've seen. I understand that the devastation requires more than one day's attention.
It had to be an intensely sobering experience for the president. For 5 days, America, first responder to the world's emergencies and leader in communication, failed to communicate and was agonizingly slow to respond to its own people in distress.